Hi, you're watching The Future is Female, the show where we find the extraordinary in every woman. I'm Melisa Idris, and joining me on the show today, I have Karoli Hindriks, who is the CEO, the founder and CEO of Jobbatical.com, which is a platform designed to connect companies to a global market. Karoli, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Wonderful to have you here. Now, before we delve into, how Jobbatical is essentially redefining what it means, what we know as the traditional labour market, I kind of want to know more about your backstory, because it's a fascinating story. I mean, you're from Estonia, and before you founded Jobbatical, you had such an interesting career so young. In fact, you were the youngest inventor for a patent in Estonia at the age of 16, is that right?
Yes.
There you go. So tell me about that. I mean, what was that like? So you patented and marketed, I might add, a reflector for pedestrians, is that right?
Yes. And that story is, I think, it's a very important story to tell, especially when you have parents listening to it, because I wouldn't be sitting here if that, I'm quite sure I wouldn't be sitting here today if that story would not have happened. And an important part, basically, in school, and I'm really from a small town of 40,000 people, so a little town in Eastern Europe. Estonia was not well known for its digital age back then. Right. It was just an Eastern European country and small town, and I was not like a straight A student. I was just an average student. I loved to dance. I went to dancing trainings. So I was a girl who was kind of going to school and didn't have a perspective definitely to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
But we had a school project, and somehow, basically, we had to create a student company, and somehow the class elected, before we had an idea, the class had to choose who is going to be the president, and I was chosen to be the president. So that was so exciting. I was like, I'm going to be the president of something. So who wouldn't want that? And I was so excited about that. We started to brainstorm, and I had the idea of, since it was autumn, and in autumn time it gets very dark.
It gets dark early, right?
Yeah, it gets dark early, and so a lot of traffic accidents happen with cars hit because they don't see people. And the reflectors that were existing was so boring, and they looked ugly. And so
you're talking about those kind of reflector jackets, right?
No, and I'm talking about like accessories that you can hang on your clothes, on your bag, so that the cars would see you. So my idea was to do fashionable accessories, and I had the idea to use the fabric that was on the sports clothes, and to start to do fashionable accessories that looks cool.
So make it kind of accessible and cool and fresh for young people.
Yeah. Basically thinking only about my audience. And so basically when I went home with this idea, and I think that's the kind of the crucial moment, and what today I'm a parent myself, what I keep reminding myself what happened then was that my father could have told me, you're a girl, go and study, forget your nonsense ideas. Instead, what he said was that, what a cool idea.
Wow.
Why don't you go to the patent office? And honestly, as a 16-year-old, I had no idea what a patent office is. But I was excited about the fact that my father got excited, right? So
he encouraged you
to
take this idea seriously, even though it was a school project.
Exactly.
So he took you to the patent office.
He didn't take me.
Oh,
I went to the patent office.
Okay.
So I found out from then, not from Google, but Yellow Pages, right? And I found out where is a patent office. I went to the patent office, and the funny thing was that they had probably never seen a young person stepping into that office.
A young girl,
right?
Right.
So they were so excited now. So the patent office was so friendly and welcoming. They said, you know what? In order to understand if it's a unique idea, you have to do research, and that also costs money. And so they said, you know what? We will just do it for free for you. And so it turned out that this idea is unique. So I took a loan from my father, which I paid back later on, and I patented this idea, and it turned out I was the youngest inventor, and that really helped with marketing, because suddenly I was a girl from a small town inventing something that actually saves lives of people.
Right.
So we started with this our student company, which meant that we were studying during day and during night. Some of us were just creating those reflectors.
Amazing.
And from there, so basically we won the competitions, and I actually spent after that a year in America as an exchange student, thanks to a Rotary program. And after I came back, I just decided that I will create an actual business out of it.
So you, from that point on, you knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur.
What I learned from this experience was that the feeling of I'm 16 and I don't have to have a PhD or something, you know, a lot of wealth in order to make a difference. I felt that I can actually, as a 16-year-old, I can matter or I can make a difference. So I think that learning just drove me that, okay, if that is possible, then why shouldn't I do it now?
So you were saying that now that you're a parent, you're seeing things differently. So what was it that you're kind of drawing from that experience with your father that you now, I guess, make sure that you don't forget with your children?
So with my daughter today, so basically I think the biggest learning for me is, and I think something that I would like to vocally say out, is that I think what I learned from it is that every child has the potential to change the world, but it's our role to make sure that they know it.
Wonderful. And so from that point on, you decided to create something, you know, make something of yourself. So you went from innovation to entertainment. At 23, you became the youngest CEO of MTV in Estonia. And then you moved on to Jobbatical. So talk to me. Oh, there more in between?
Yeah, there was more.
There was more in between.
So basically, I created my own company, and that went really well. Of course, it had also ups and downs, and I call it my Harvard.
So there were failed ventures in between.
I mean, the same reflector company, it had ups and downs.
Okay,
so I made wrong hires it was very successful, and at then one point, I decided when I was proposed to go to MTV that I will not be active with that company anymore, and then I hired wrong people.
Okay,
and
so
then that was a really painful experience, but I managed to get the company up again. But it was just, like I said, with what I call every success includes actually failures. Most people don't talk about it, but for me, this first venture was very much a study.
So how do you deal with failure?
How do you deal with failure? I think
it's part and parcel of being an entrepreneur.
And I think you just you get used to the understanding. You know, when you first time fall down, it's the first time, and it hurts. It hurts.
It hurts
but
more.
When you have fallen down 10 times already, you just know that you just get up. Maybe you cry in the pillow a bit, have a run, or do something, and then. But you just get used to it.
You keep going.
You just keep going.
Wonderful.
And so basically, when MTV was so excited, I had no idea how to do media business, but I thought I will just figure it out. And so for 3 years, I built up the Estonian MTV, and after that, I actually got the president of Fox Europe. Approached me and I created actually a new company, which was basically I started to build up the National Geographic channels and the Fox Entertainment channels in the three Baltic states.
So you localized international content for Estonia.
Exactly.
All right.
Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
Wonderful. We're going to come back and talk more about Jobbatical.com after this, right here on The Future is Female. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Future is Female. I'm Melisa Idris. I have with me Karoli Hindriks, the CEO of Jobbatical.com, which essentially is an international job search platform marrying the idea of a job and sabbatical. So tell us a little bit more about it.
So actually, the combination of job and sabbatical was more when I first had the idea of this word, and that was long after I had the idea of the actual sabbatical. The word, what I wanted to connect is that like we used to have two different worlds. One where we work, which is in a cubicle,
9 to 5.
You don't really like it, but it's part of your life. And then you have dreams, and those dreams you maybe go for a 1-week holiday and you go and visit your dream.
Right.
So my idea was how can we merge those two, that you could actually pursue your career while actually discovering your dreams or following your dreams. So if you have always dreamed of going to Asia, why don't you go and work in KL for the next few years, right? But the idea of Jobbatical, how I got to that was, so after I decided to leave television, I took some time off. So basically, I didn't know what I would do.
You took a sabbatical.
I took a sabbatical. And I have told in the same, in your channel here, that I actually went to Langkawi. So that was my...
Oh, the sabbatical's in Langkawi.
So I went to Langkawi. But so I started to think, what am I going to do next? I knew that I had now over 10 years of experience because I started really early, right?
Yes.
So I had experience of business development, building TV channels, marketing. But it all was kind of around the Baltic states. And I thought, could I take myself somehow into an environment which would be professionally, would help me to grow. At the same time, all the knowledge that I have now gathered in me could help some team to develop something. So for example, build a media channel somewhere in another country, because the flow of building a media channel is still the same.
Yes.
But I would love to have an experience of working and building something in a different cultural environment than I was used to. So I started basically, first I was there in Langkawi, I was running and taking, enjoying sun and reading, and then it got so boring. And I thought that I want to do something, something meaningful with that time. And the idea started to evolve from there, and then I took my own sabbatical in Silicon Valley. I was helping a startup there, and later got into a Singularity University, which is an amazing think tank. And when I was there, this idea started to formulate, and what I started to think is that this, Silicon Valley is well known for its building the, industry-changing companies.
Right.
And I started to ask, like, how is it happening here and not somewhere else? Like, why are...
What makes Silicon Valley so special?
Yeah, exactly. So people can't be just smarter here than everywhere else. So
something in the water.
Yeah, exactly. Something in the water or bananas, right? So I started to think about that, and I realized it's people that are drawn there. And so basically that question drove me to another thought, that like myself, there are more and more people who are more mobile in the world, that we are curious about living in other countries and discovering the world and following, in a way, putting together our jobs and our sabbaticals, so our jobs and our dreams, right? So I started to think, how could we collect those people and start to introduce them places where they would have never thought they could actually work. So they, it's obvious to go to work in New York or Silicon Valley or London.
Because I have to say, Karoli, I would have no idea how to go about doing that. Say I wanted to work somewhere in Greece, for instance. How would I find a job, in Greece? So this is what Jobbatical does.
That is what Jobbatical does, and we help with also the whole immigration. And our dream or the vision where we're driving and which is getting closer and closer. Also, that's one of the reasons I'm here this week, is that. So we are collecting those smart people in the digital industry, and each and every one of them can contribute into the community and economy where they go to.
All right.
They go, they work, they contribute through taxes, they contribute into the community by just sharing what they know, right?
Ideas and kind of knowledge transfer. Isn't it? So what brings you to Malaysia?
So to end the last sentence is basically, yes, we have those people, and we have the teams in the different countries who could hire them and who could get the value from those people. But there's still this friction of immigration, that on one hand a country knows that we want to get those people in, and when those people, we put them behind your door, they still have to go through a ridiculous immigration process.
Yeah, so it's long and bureaucratic.
And what we're aiming to help here is that we know those people, we know who they are, we know what their skills are. So why don't we just create a way for them to have an easier access, so that they would come to your country and not the country where they have to do a 1-year immigration process, right?
I see.
So basically what our vision is to, for those organizations that are working with in order to hire from abroad, and for the people who are in the community, they would have an easy way to go and work and contribute instead of going through the
process.
friction.
Yeah, so I guess a kind of one-stop center for immigration and a job hunt. So just to ask again, I mean, when you are so you're here in Malaysia, you're looking at helping Malaysians who want to work abroad and Malaysian companies who want to hire global talent?
So I'm here this week as on Tuesday. It was announced at the Malaysian Tech Week that there's a proposal for the digital freelancer visa that has been passed by MDEC, and we are working together with MDEC in order to create that visa, basically, and so that more knowledge workers in that digital sphere would have a reason and easier way to come and contribute into Malaysian digital economy.
Is it purely for the tech sector?
We are focusing on the
tech sector, because that's the most mobile, isn't it? You can work anywhere, essentially, with a laptop.
You can work, like somebody said, I remember a colleague said when we were talking about the different sectors, that if you think about, for example, somebody in construction work, then you have to have really long hands, for example, to work remotely. So in that sense, so we are focusing on the digital sector. And I think what we also see in terms of different countries in the world, I mean, in general, there's a huge global talent shortage, which will go even higher in the next 10 years.
Right.
And especially difficult it is also in the digital industry, and that's where we're focusing.
Well, you know, I read that Jobbatical's mission is to think beyond borders, and I thought that was really interesting, because often borders are not just geographical, but they're also in our heads, right? We don't think beyond our own countries. And we're going to come back and talk about that, Karoli, right here on The Future's Female next. Thanks for staying with us here on The Future's Female. I'm Melisa Idris with Curly Hendrix, the CEO of Jobbatical.com. Now, let's talk about personal borders. Borders in your head, because as much as we want to grow talent, we never think beyond what we know, right? So sometimes, how do we kind of get over that mindset that we're working only within geographical borders, that we can work in Estonia or in Greece or in New York?
So I think it's interesting working in, so a few things. Working in the hiring or recruiting sphere, where, you know, as we talked, there's a huge talent shortage and companies need to really work hard to attract talent. But very often what we hear, for example, is we are only hiring culture fit. And here what I really like to challenge is that if you're hiring culture fit, it actually means that you are hiring people like you. And very often we're so comfortable with people who are
just
comfortable
like
us, because it's, but the question as an entrepreneur or as somebody building a team or a product or whatever their mission is, you have to think, does this, if everybody is nodding just like you around the table, does that actually help your organization further? Or is that somebody who actually would bring culture add, would that actually help to challenge you in a way that you would reach to ideas that will help the organization further? So I think that's one thing. Another thing I think is that the whole, I mean, we are living in this time where there's a lot of discussion around immigration, and there's a lot of fear around immigration, and I think this is something when I had the realization myself, was that this also, it doesn't start from the policymakers, it starts from us humans,
the people, right at the ground.
And it's and the fear, and this starts from, like, when I told my own story, like my father, when he told me at me being at 16-year-old, right? He actually opened borders in my head. Like he literally helped me to step beyond my borders. That sounds like my TED talk. But basically he helped me to overcome some kind of fear, which has helped me to move further, right? So the question is that we are limiting every day ourselves with the fear of, you know, should I talk to her, or should I aim for a position that seems, am I competent enough for that position? Or like there's every day we have decisions that we have to make, and those decisions are limited by our borders. And what happens, I think, on the other side is that now when we talk about immigration, then there's a fear. Maybe there's somebody who will be smarter than me, who will come in and will take away
my job.
Exactly. So and I think that's the first thing that we have to overcome, is that first of all, you have to, if the fear, because like you are building, like the only person responsible for your life is yourself. Like,
exactly.
And we fail, and this is like a normal part of life. Believe me, I'm smiling here, but I've been crying a lot in my life. But only you and me, we are responsible for our lives. And as soon as we can acknowledge that, we are able to take responsibility for taking down our own borders, right? And then if we are taking down our own borders, it's much less of a fear that there will be somebody who will come in and take something away from us, right?
Yes.
Somebody.
So the fear for the other is reduced because you're no longer fearful of someone else.
Because you know your legs, so to say, are on the ground, right?
Wonderful.
So and I mean, when we talk about immigration, very often the fear is also emphasized. I mean, it's very easy to hear people. If you have this fear inside, like I have a coach that I've been working with, and I really like what she says, that the only thing that can hurt you is a button if you have set yourself that button. So if you think that you are something and somebody says that you are that, then it will hurt you. If you don't have that button,
it won't.
It
can't possibly hurt you.
Exactly.
For sure.
So in terms of immigration, there's actually I like the Enrico Moretti from Berkeley University, an economist, has said that every highly skilled job creates 5 jobs in the community. So which means that it's completely the opposite that is often said. Like every smart person that is coming to your country actually creates 5
More jobs.
So I think so the fear has a really big strength, because we have so many borders in ourselves.
Is that more prevalent among women? Because, you know, I'm wondering, women, well, flexible hours have been great for women. So the future of work being flexible and mobile has been great for women, working mothers. But does it limit women from wanting to pack up and go somewhere and start over? Because, you know, you're thinking about a family and commitments and all that.
And I think when we talk about that and the world today, I think it's interesting to see that I can say I'm a feminist, and it took me a long time to. So I calculated at one point that it took me 33 years to get to be a feminist, because I also thought a lot of things that, you know, you just have to be tough enough and you have to be strong enough and you have to be. But then I realized that no, there is a problem and we need to deal with it.
Right.
But I think what is really great about this world, and how statistics is proving women have a possibility today to choose where they are treated better, is that basically if you look at the migration in the world, then the fastest growing group in terms of migration is highly skilled people, and the fastest growing group is highly skilled women. So basically smart women move the most in the world.
Wow.
And so as a woman, you can just, you know, pack your bag and go
somewhere.
Like for example, like in Europe, one of the highest is Sweden. So if you can pack your bag and go to Sweden, because you know that
you're going to be treated better.
You are being treated better. Your family will be safe, in that sense safer, because you have the full health care, maternity, paternity, and all of that. So basically, we live in this era where everybody can choose where they live, and I think that's one of the big reasons, not that this is just one of the reasons why countries should take it very seriously, how equality is worked on.
Because you don't want to be losing your highly skilled women through brain drain to another country. So you should possibly look at policies that promote gender equality. So at the moment, I guess I want to know for Jobbatical.com, what's the future for that? Because you know, you're incorporating this highly mobile global labor market. Where do you see the future of work, and how does that tie into what you have planned for Jobbatical?
So what I see for the future of work and what I see for Jobbatical, it's somewhat connected. I do think that today, if you think about passport, right? Like this has been the way we identify people. You either have a passport that is a good country, or you don't have a good country passport. So you actually, I have said that you're like a statistical error right? So either are lucky in a good
Yes.
country, but it doesn't, like passport doesn't say anything about people, because you have somebody who is completely not educated with a good passport. Why should that person should have a better access to countries, right? So what I believe and what we're helping with is that today there are so many better ways to identify smart people, and what we want to do is to build a borderless world for those smart people and any country hiring those smart people. So basically that it's your skills that matter and not your passport.
Not where you were born.
Exactly,
The luck of the
accidentally.
draw.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking with me. It's been such a pleasure. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, Karoli. I'll be back at the same time next week right here on The Future is Female. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.